Twitch emojis are so weird. I don't understand them. Hi, everybody. I'm really excited to be here. I'm Justin Zagri, the director of SEVERUS, SNAPE, and the Marauders, but you already know that. If you don't, welcome. It's good to see you. Good to meet you. Obviously, I'm as excited as you guys are to watch this film, but I'm very, very excited to talk about it because I don't get to talk about it very often. It's been a while since this movie came out. What to say before we start? I guess, this film took off in a very big way. But the thing that really got me just really excited to be involved in all of this is just the amount of fan love that this film got. Like, Greater Good started something that that allowed for Severus Snape and the Marauders, but once we started the Kickstarter and we started filming and we got background extras to work on the film, like, there was just so much excitement and love behind it. And it was just such a privilege and an honor to work with people who were in love with the material. And it was just an unforgettable experience all the way through, from like first casting and doing all of the callbacks to rehearsing and regularly getting the cast to hang out with each other, except for Snape. But Morgana's really good friends with everybody in the cast. We hang out all the time. To finally shooting it and seeing all the extras that showed up with their own wardrobe. We didn't have to dress them. We were ready to dress them too. We had the budget to cover all kinds of stuff, but they just showed up in their own clothes. And that was like the pivotal moment for me. Not when it came out and when it got super successful, which got way more successful than even I thought it would get. But like seeing people be in love with this material and providing a helping hand. That's kind of the reason I got into filmmaking, is because people love to do it and they love to help each other do it. So I see some more people this time, which is really cool. Thanks for driving, Kevin Allen. Synalytical. That's kind of interesting. Good to see you too, Ben. Good to see you, Kasara and Emeka. And I'm keeping an eye on the YouTube chat this time too, but I seriously encourage you guys to talk to me on Twitch, because we're doing a lot of work on Twitch. We're moving over to Twitch. The more followers we can get there, the closer we can get to affiliate status, and we can start just doing a lot of really fun stuff there, which we are planning on doing. Just because we're going to stop making films under the Broad Strokes name, which I'm never going to stop making films. I'm just moving on to different strategies, because Broad Strokes is very much associated with Harry Potter fan films, and I want to move on to original content, so it's going to have its own thing. But Broad Strokes is not going away. We're just changing over to Twitch, and we're still going to kind of tell stories. It's just going to be in a different way, and we're really excited to see what that means for everybody. So the closer we can get to affiliate status, the more followers we get, the more people hang out with us on a regular basis, the closer we can get to making that happen. So, let's see. I think I said everything I needed to say regarding this, but I'll go through the chat one more time real quick. April Sweet says, you guys give us the story of the Marauders that we wanted. I appreciate that, because I did not hold back on who I think they really are. Not bad people, just not like meant to be, what's the word? You know how when you look at a celebrity and you just like pine over them, but then you meet them and you're like, oh, you're kind of a human being, and it's a little disappointing. That's kind of what I wanted to do with the Marauders. I see them as wonderful people that are very flawed, and they're teenagers, but also have enormous goodness in them, at least most of them do. So, the Terminator 94 petitioned to have the cast and crew of Broad Strokes collaborate with Warner Brothers should they ever decide to get a Martyrs series underway. We would not hesitate if that happened. But, you know, we'll see if that happens. I like, actually, where the Fantastic Beasts series is going. It's just a brand new character, but it's, like, focusing on the conflict of Dumbledore and Grindelwald, which is, like, something that makes me very, very excited for obvious reasons. So, with that, I think we can get started. I think we're ready to go. This time, I'm definitely going to be pausing a lot. So it's going to be less of a viewing watch experience and more of like a hear what I have to say experience. So we'll see how it goes. I'm going to check the audio. I know we've had some problems before with that, but we should be all right. And I'm going to keep an eye on the chat. So if you guys have questions or if you guys have comments, let me know. I'll pause and I'll get back to you. All right, here we go. So actually, I already got a question here, but I'll just go ahead and answer real quick. How did you guys write the screenplay knowing Harry Potter's Warner Brothers owned IP? I'm trying to write my own screenplays, adapting, etc. of EIDC. Basically, the Warner Brothers policy, and this was 6 years ago. I don't know if it's changed. The Warner Brothers policy was basically, oops, look at that picture. That picture's not right.
Oi. Have I seen your ID?
There we go. Sorry, guys. Their policy is basically you can shoot whatever you want, you can make whatever you want, just avoid monetizing it, avoid their like IP, like their font.
Let me get you another one.
That was one of the things that the lawyer who contacted us said. And try not to raise money. We got away with it because they caught us after it was already raised, and they said you can't raise more. So, something to keep in mind. And we have this amazing score by the amazing Alexander Arntzen. Ooh, that's really loud for me, guys. I'm gonna have to turn that down.
Living stupid choir. We're three, we got whole lives ahead of us.
Alright, hopefully that helps.
Are you going to the party tonight then, Remus?
I think so.
So I gotta say that the cinematography just is unbelievably good. And yes, broody sad. Snape is broody sad. That's the way he stays forever. But I gotta say, I just gotta compliment the cinematography by John Hafner here. I just remember when we were on set, we were setting up for this shot, and he's getting everything going, and he loves to be a bit of a showman, where he like is setting things up, and he's like, "You're gonna want to take a picture of this lighting setup," and I'll look at the lights, and I'll be like, "Cool." And I know a little bit about lights, but not enough for me to like really get into it the way he did. But I would look at the camera, and I would say, "Oh, that looks great." Definitely the moment where like the orange lighting is showing up on Snape's face during the fiend fire, like when he set up those lights, he was super proud of himself. But at this moment, he had everything set up, and I was like, all right, let's get going. He's like, no, one more thing. Like Steve Jobs, one more thing. And he takes this little piece of glass and puts it in front of the lens and has me watch the monitor while he does it. And like the glowing of this and the halos that it created, the softness immediately made me go, oh, this is a Harry Potter film now. So, huge props to him.
How'd you find out about it?
How did I find out about it?
Have you not seen the letters? We've all seen the letters. We assumed you did.
They're not letters.
So, I know I've said it a billion times, but this entire scene, up until the point where Remus starts brooding, is improvised. We just came up with a quick story of what they're talking about, and we went from there.
Your shirt, I like it. I'm trying to be honest. It's terrible.
It suits me.
Put a vest over it. Vests are in.
I hear girls are warm too, just so you know.
Yeah, like warmer than vests. Almost.
James Potter, the score is available.
You're
It's
right, mate.
on.
Yeah.
It's not Spotify. I forget the name of it, but look up Alexander Arntzen on Instagram and ask him.
We've got a routine down.
Yeah, don't worry about that now.
Also,
We're here to
absolutely,
Celebrate.
Hogwarts
anything
no
Harry Potter and
more.
Lego is the best.
could finally ditch those dingy robes and sport something a little more respectable for the order.
I even had them like
bit
choose their
mature,
drinks. Like
Yeah,
it doesn't really
she
mean
covered
anything,
that.
but we chose like what are they drinking? And there's your we'll start moment,
So
friends.
where's Lily? Not like her to be late.
Well, she'll be around. It's her favourite pub.
Finally warming up to you, eh?
Reckon you'll be settling in with a mini pot?
Oh,
no,
don't say it.
no, not likely. But she, I don't know, she made me see things different. Like, maybe there's more to life than Quidditch and map building, I suppose.
Is not.
So this is really important
Best thing
because
we ever
like
did was making that
up until
map.
this point, I wanted to
would
make
make us
sure that
legends.
James is
Sam, man,
charming
wouldn't be
and
anything without
lovable
me.
and a
Yeah,
good
so you
guy
won't stop saying.
until Snape shows up, or until
Imagine
we start
things are gonna
talking about this
change.
kind of stuff.
Yeah,
We
sure, I
start
mean,
seeing his
everyone's gonna go
principles.
their own way and get
We start
jobs, but
seeing
we'll stay together.
his
I don't
naivety.
mean it like that. mean,
I
it's
found James to be a
coming.
fascinating character because he's not
Some might fight with us.
necessarily a great guy.
Some might get
He
killed.
turns into a better guy.
Some might fight
but
against us. People we went to school with facing us on some battlefield.
What I
All
find
I know
more
is
interesting is
we're not
conflicting
going anywhere.
characters.
And
Or
not one
characters that
definite is gonna have
have
a row at us,
traits
so long as we're
that may not
together.
necessarily be
Yeah.
good,
What if it's
despite
a
the fact that
friend
they're a good
facing us?
person.
Someone under the Imperial
So I had fun
curse.
writing James and
Or
making sure
worse,
that he wasn't
someone who wants
just
to
like
be there.
Snape's
Someone
like
Snape.
exactly.
No,
a really,
I mean-
really good guy.
He's right there.
Mariana, I am a Gryffindor. Everyone sound off on your houses.
What do you think he's doing here?
So,
Can I know?
actually, I want to go back real quick. I want to show you guys this one shot.
You want to have a go at him?
No, I don't want to have a go at him yet. But this shot right here,
No, I mean, he's right
not
there.
this shot. This shot right here was a happy accident, and it was a perfect way to transition James from being a good, happy-go-lucky guy to someone who turns into the old bully that he was in years past. It's like a very visual, cinematic metaphor for showing him in shadow. And we didn't mean to do that, but as soon as I saw him turn his head, both me and the DP looked at each other and were like, we're getting that. Initially, it wasn't in focus, so we did it again. We rack focused to him, and it was perfect. And happy accidents like that are always very much encouraged, or you look for them.
What do you think he's doing here?
I reckon I know.
Yeah,
You want to have a go at him?
regressing into being a bully because he was scared of the consequences of
serious.
war, and
Come on,
that's
we're not
kind
gonna
of like
see him
his
again
default
anyway.
way
Are you
to
mad?
defend
Right here.
himself and defend
No,
others, is to
we'll
kind of
take him
take
elsewhere.
be
Come on,
pretty
James.
aggressive.
Yeah, I'm not up for having a row while we're in school, but I don't think they've got shared cells. in
Oh,
this
we got a
one.
Look, you said it
Griffin
yourself. We're all going
slither
our own
door.
way. Which way do you
I
think
guess
he's
that's what
gonna
you could
go?
call it.
Slimy
Because there's Raven
kid
pups and
shot
there's
my cousin.
Griffin
Yeah, so let's
Raven
take care of him
doors.
now.
We're not going to
But
kill him.
Slither
And
door,
beating him
that's
up is only
interesting.
going to piss him off worse. Look after what you did.
Oh, what I did? Oh, when I saved him from you after he went sneaking about.
Can't we just
And nothing's
enjoy our
getting
drinks?
complicated.
This
And
isn't
he's
about
like,
Snape
oh,
and
I
Lily,
saved
is it?
him from you,
No,
and he saved from me,
of
and
course it isn't.
Sirius
That's
is
why you want
feeling
to start trouble.
conflicted
But
and
we need to
guilty
make
about
sure he
what
fears
he
us
did,
when the
which
time comes.
arguably was worse than anything James did. He almost got
do it.
Snape killed.
Do you understand? What about the rest of you?
Jen, I'm glad you like the costumes
You know,
because
I
that was very much a collaborative effort. Believe it or not, we just went to thrift stores and found what worked for everybody. And
any of us do.
I
We'll
just
be
remember
fine
Garrett
as
putting
long
on
as we're
his
together.
his sweater and his jacket, and he's like, "I feel powerful," and I'm like,
As long as we're
"That's
together.
James." Yeah, big theme there is like I had trouble writing in series to have any kind of an arc. Everyone else kind of did, right? Had an issue that they wanted to work out,
Yeah.
but except for Sirius.
Used to taking real risks.
Until I started like having him repeat as long as we're all together, because his biggest fear is for them to be torn apart. Because he doesn't really have a family of his own, both figuratively
We're not gonna hurt
and
him.
kind of
We're just
literally.
gonna
They
scare
kicked him out,
Of course we are.
and at this point in the story,
Come
he's
on,
living
come
with
on.
Sirius Black, or he was, until James moved out, or until school ended.
Right, Snivelus. What you doing here?
Kevin Allen is a beautiful.
Don't look like
beautiful
nothing. You're
gentleman,
trying
isn't
to
he?
Get a drink. Oi, have you seen his ID?
What do you want?
You're not welcome here.
I'm minding my own business.
That's the most
shame
Alan
that I
Rickman
minded too.
sounding version of Snape in that moment. I'm minding of my own business. And in the Great Wizarding War, he has one moment. Snape has one moment where he really
See
sounds
this
like Alan
bloke?
Rickman.
He's a Slytherin, recently graduated. You best stay on your guard around him.
You will take it outside and have the lot of you spinched.
I just love everything about the cinematography again, but the thing that really makes this place come alive is the flue powder fireplace, the green flashing, just
She'll never forgive
absolutely
you, you know that?
amazing. Really, really fantastic.
I reckon that's why you're here. Try and mend things after what you call...
All right, we got a bit of a cameo. I don't know if anybody ever noticed this, but that's Colin and Kari in the background in one of the paintings from The Greater Good. You can't really see Colin, but in like a previous shot, let's see. Yeah, there you go. It's kind of hard to see. You might have to zoom in, but like Colin pulls out his wand. And on the right-hand side right there is... I'm so sorry, I'm forgetting the names of the actors at the moment, except for Anna Brisbane, who plays Rowena Ravenclaw right there. You might know as Brizzy Voices. But I just met her... I don't remember how I met her. Oh, yeah, I released Greater Good and asked her to promote it, because Colin actually knew of her channel and knew she was a Harry Potter fan. So I contacted her, and she was just the sweetest person. She was already pretty popular on YouTube, but you wouldn't be able to tell by her demeanor. She's like, oh my God, absolutely, I'd love to help and hang out, and just through her generosity, because I know she's an actor, I was like, do you want to be Rowena Ravenclaw? And of course. And then the rest is history, because she becomes Bellatrix Lestrange in the Great Wizarding War.
Come on, Snape, give me an excuse. Come on! Do you see this bloke? He's a Slytherin, recently graduated.
Yeah, Ben, we rented out a pub for a couple of weeks, and... here's the fun part. We didn't know this until after the fact, but this pub was used in the final episode of The Office.
Oh, I don't need them. They're just spectating. She'll never forgive you, you know that? I reckon that's why you're here. Try and mend things.
It is important to distinguish the difference between
Mudblood.
Snape before Lily's death and Snape after Lily's death.
Perhaps the
In
minister would like
fact,
to know.
I would say, like,
This is going too far.
this is a very different Snape from even Snape during the Wizarding War. Like, and that's what I really wanted to focus on in the Great Wizarding War, is his transition into a full-fledged Death Eater who wants to be there. I feel like in this movie, he's not sure what he wants yet, and I wanted to explore that in the Great Wizarding War. All he knows is he hates James Potter.
Gentlemen.
The name of the composer is Alexander Arntzen.
Come on,
Arntzen. It's true, it is a low blow.
James!
I remember listening to the reaction when we watched the reaction video, and I did not expect these guys to do this, but when we saw the first apparition, everyone in the reaction video lost their minds. Like, first of all, it looks really cool. Getting to see it like that is just the coolest thing ever. And like I said, anytime I get to do an apparition, absolutely, because it just looks really cool. Also, just about everybody in this shot, except for the bartender, are friends of mine. Friends of mine and Kevin Allen's.
James!
Also, doesn't she just look stunning right there? She just looks amazing. I just want to compliment how pretty all the actors look.
Still not pleased that.
I thought it was fun to make Peter Pettigrew have trouble with apparition, and then of course Remus gives him chocolate to feel better.
If you beat me, I'll stay away from Lily. But if I beat you, you stay away from Lily for the rest of your life.
It's not some prize to be won.
Then you forfeit.
Yeah, it's
fine by
true,
me.
Morgana, about Remus
Silly.
participating and bullying Snape,
Give me the
because
right to the
Snape
job.
feels a kindred spirit
Come on.
in Remus.
No.
Even though he tried to expose him for what he was, I can imagine that he was just like, you're an outsider like me, and I hate that you treat me so bad or don't do anything about it. So real quick, I love this moment, and I wanted to set off the bat that Snape was strong. Also, I love this shot. It's just a great shot. The guy who was the Steadicam operator, and that's how you know we have a budget, is we could afford a Steadicam operator. So boom, and then big boom. And that's just to establish that Snape is not going to be trifled with here. And I wanted to establish off the bat, he's tough. And I will defend to the end of the earth that Snape is a tough guy. And could take these guys on if he really put his heart into it. And of course, in this film, he does. But anyways, the camera operator, Thor, Wixom, of course, his Steadicam is named Mjolnir. But he just did such a great job with like slow movements and creating just an excellent sense of movement, for lack of a better word. Yeah, Morgana, we worked on the movements. It was very much a fluid sense of movement with Snape. And I really wanted to make sure that, like, as you're doing it, we talked about this while we were shooting, is that every movement feels like a fluid movement. So you could take 3 or 4 movements and it feels like one. And then we got these fantastic rocks, and then he's like deflecting spells and just doing... They're showing they're both really skilled. And this is where he obviously takes it a little too far. Now he's like possibly seriously. Visual effects had a flat time with these 2 shots. That took like 8 takes to get it out of his hand. It was not fun. This is kind of to show that James is a physical guy, you know. He's not a seeker, and not a beater when he plays Quidditch, but, you know, he's a physically tough guy. And then this is something I've been wanting to do so bad, is that shot. I did not pull it off well and great or good, and I was like, I'm doing it again. And I got it right.
He said he could handle it! He's already lost the match.
Yeah, at this point, Snape is... he's not holding back.
Get it, get it!
I love Sirius's reaction there. Like, you could just tell he's kind of panicked, and like, he's getting animalistic, and everyone's holding him back, and he's just not having it. He's like, get out of my way. I'm out of here. Get me in there. He's like, my boy is gonna die. Chaser. Thank you. So fight scenes to me are really important. They need to tell a story, and you need to choose carefully what your shots are. You can't have a fight for no reason, or you can't have a fight for the sake of it. It needs to have a beginning, middle, and an end. And really the theme throughout this is that nothing about this fight should happen, but also the Marauders are in their hands. And only when they work together are they able to match Snape and overpower him. It's an interesting way to look at it. Snape is expertly skilled but emotionally unpredictable. It's true, especially at this age. And then this insane score. Well, I got very giddy pulling off this shot. I called it the figure 8. No, it's not a figure 8, but I wanted to do a 1. Like, just like visual effects, like, you can tell they had a field day here. They just went nuts. Like, I was just like, get him to hit the camera, get him to go past the camera, I'm nuts. Like, it gets closer and closer and closer, and it's just the best.
Ready? Together? Fire!
So yeah, this is all like natural lighting, and of course, this is real fire animals. No visual effects intended. We brought in wizards to create Fiend Fire, and they assured me that it would turn out just fine, and nobody would be hurt or damaged. And it's true. The wizards were very very good. No, this is amazing visual effect. Kid me. So all that build up, lots and lots of tension, crazy, and then create some levity and release the tension. All right, so I know y'all are talking and about this. At least so many criticisms for this moment, and I would say somewhat rightly so, because Sirius Black, for all his being a unreliable narrator, I believed him when he said that James hated dark magic. So from a cinematic perspective, I needed something that would overwhelm Snape, and I felt like Fiendfire would be the best, and it would give me a chance to show the Animagus animals. And it would just create a big climactic end to this part of the fight. But would these guys actually do this? Probably not. So that's all the reasons why I wanted it in the film. But once I started Wizarding War, I was like, well, I get a chance to answer this question. So I didn't answer it directly, but in episode 2, when we meet Luther Frumentar, he talks about how he trained the Marauders, and he's a dark wizard. So he probably talked to them in their 7th year and said, just because you don't like dark magic just doesn't mean you shouldn't use it. And he would basically make the case that, like, just because you're not a dark wizard doesn't mean dark magic shouldn't be part of your repertoire. So that was kind of the idea of Luther. And because you understand Luther as the kind of character he is in Wizarding War, it can make sense as to how you would manipulate teenagers into maybe they hate dark magic, but he's going to teach them anyways. So that's kind of, I got a chance to kind of answer that question in Wizarding War. But otherwise, it's just the coolest looking thing ever.
Fan out.
Of course, they don't actually fan out because they're not terribly smart kids.
The Gilliman.
So that was a fun little thing. I was like, I need a visual indicator of him showing what Legilimen actually does, because I wanted the audience to, if they don't know who or what Legilimen's is, and like I show little ponytails, and then I further reinforce it where we're seeing what's going on in his head, and it's like got a green tint, so we know it's in his head. So it was a fun little visual experiment here. I love this moment. I just love James's change in reaction. It was almost muffled a little bit, or like covered by the spell itself. But man, I just want you to watch this again.
1, 2, 3.
Also, I love the editing I got to do here. Lots of back and forth cuts, lots of quick cuts. It's like my favorite thing to do. So watch, he's just going like, I got you. Oh no. He just did such a great job. Garrett's a fantastic actor.
Breathe it!
can't tell you, it's like a spell that stops you from masturbating. I just love this shot. Love this shot so much more than it turned out. But like even better, visual effects did that. I wanted it to be kind of like a shield that shows up around him. Like he creates like this egg of a shield and blocks all 4 of their spells, but instead something much more creative happens with the visual effects artist, Jake Acuna. He runs VFX to Go. He redirected all 4 of them and has them explode above him. And I was like, amazing. So good. So like, just again, collaboration with people who love what they do, like, makes things even better than I anticipated. And that's the way you always want to turn out. So now he's like surrounded. Like, he's faced the 4 of them. If they're facing him, you can see what's coming at him, even though it would be really tough. But now he can't look at everybody. It's coming from all directions. He can't do this. And now they're just being total dicks. Morgana, it's funny that you mentioned you were in bad shape. I remember when we did the scream, I had you do it a few times, and you were like, I'm gonna throw up. It's like, are you sure you can't do it? You know, Morgana was like, oh, I can do it. I'm like, okay, one more time. You won't throw up, it'll be fine. So this moment where Snape's hearing everything that
You've chosen your way, and I've chosen mine.
that's my dragon moment. Everyone wants to call it that. And let's face it, it's true. But anyways, like, this previous moment where he's hearing everything in his head, it's basically, I needed... Well, first of all, there was like too much like dead air there, and I needed something to fill it in. And again, visual effects just were killer here. I'm going to turn off the volume for just a second. But like, I really wanted there to be, even breaks the 4th wall there a little bit. I wanted there to be an emotional reason, not just for being like cornered like an angry animal, but like, I wanted there to be an emotionally driven reason as to why he snaps and explodes. And someone said, like, well, no, wizards don't just explode with magic like that. And actually, there was a moment in the book, the 7th book, where Voldemort was fighting 3 wizards, saw Bellatrix die, and then just screamed and had a shockwave of magic happened. And I was like, there we go. That's all I need. So, and turn the volume. Yes, Remus would not join in on that. Absolutely not. Remus would not join in on that. And then this shot was another lightning in a bottle moment, like, wasn't intended. Just as soon as Snape turned, I was like, that's the shot of the movie. That's the money shot for the whole movie. As soon as I saw that, I just said out loud, holy shit, and hoped that Morgana would stay in character, which she did. And I love this shot because it like fulfills the arc or the concern that Sirius has about losing everyone that he cares about. Yeah, Force Unleashed. That's a good way to look at it.
Curse you!
And this is just him being terrible. Like, everyone says, oh, the Marauders are so terrible. I'm like, no, Snape can be really terrible, and I'm gonna do it right now.
Sectum Sempra!
Yeah, just the worst. Like, even I couldn't believe that I did that, and I gotta really just compliment the visual effects here for just really killing it with their designs, or with the visual effects of the blood, because that was not practical. Yeah. Oh, and I love that. It's like this kind of weird glass looking, like the spell emulates shards of glass hitting your face. Which is just fantastic. Oh, poor guy.
Right. Well,
And then just
I guess we
Zach to bring in the levity and just at the same time kill it with
appreciate
setting up
Was it
who we all know
the right talents.
Peter will become.
Perhaps I could learn from a strong wizard.
Jenna, good question.
Such as yourself.
I don't remember how we worked that out. Maybe Kevin can answer that. But I just remember when I talked to Colin in Greater Good about Crucio, I said it's like a burning fire that builds. Builds and builds and builds. And then just Snape getting all of his anger out over years and years and years. Years and years and years of abuse he's getting out right there.
All right, Severus. All right.
Zach is building
Severus now, is it?
a fantastic comedy career now.
Please. Severus, please.
Like,
Severus, please.
he went from headlining to COVID to
Please, what?
starting 1 or 2 new gigs, and now he's headlining in like
Is
a
that
week.
what you
He's
want,
amazing.
Potter? You think that you can hex and curse me all these years, take away the one
Spineless
person
Judas
that I
is one
ever
tail,
cared
yeah, I
about,
would
and you
agree.
think that you can just brush me off? You have no idea what it is like to be me. You have no idea what it is like to lose something!
You're right. All right. I'm sorry.
You're sorry.
That's a good idea of seeing the Cruciatus curse
You're sorry.
and scalded
Now
by
that
boiling
I've
water.
bloodied you up,
'Cause
now that you've been...
Burns are the worst kind of pain.
Don't worry, Potter. It won't last much longer.
I don't think any amount of therapy is going to help Snape.
Goodbye, Potter.
Severus,
And then, of course, the angel of the group shows up.
Have you gone mad?
The,
What are you all
that,
doing?
the angel effect of
You
the
think
light
that
was
one
very
last
much on
row would
purpose.
solve everything? And what were you...
What have you done?
What have you done?
I just...
I will never forgive you for this. You tell me what you've done. You tell me right now.
we started it.
So this is the beginning of where I wanted James to go, is that I couldn't believe that he was completely changed in 2 years to a much better person who would not pick a fight with Snape, which it is
All
canon
of
that
you.
secretly he would still pick fights with Snape behind Lily's
What
back.
were you doing there?
And then when
Came to try to say...
the school
say
stuff goes
what?
away,
To say that I'm sorry!
he's going to be thinking differently. So the only way that I can see a major change from somebody who was just a total bully
I know that. I
was
lived with it the
basically
past few
getting
years.
your ass handed to you.
You were my best friend and I ruined it. I ruined it after calling you that terrible name that I don't deserve to call anyone! I just came to try to tell you how horrible I was.
There's a debate.
How grateful
You
I
mentioned
am
that like Snape
you
would
were
have killed
there for
him,
me
like,
when
and
no
I
one else
agree he
was.
would have killed James. And there's a debate going around of like, did Snape kill anybody in the Wizarding War, or is Snape capable of killing? And I think without hesitation he is capable of murder. I get some controversy for that moment, but I take away the line Snape or Lily was an uncompromisingly and
Still fancy the dark arts.
caring and compassionate person. So while she's not forgiving him, like, I feel like this is very much in character for her to help
And you
him.
still console people like Bellatrix. Show me, Severus.
Show me, and I might forgive you.
funny because everyone thought that was like a wedding ring or something, and I meant to focus on that ring. I did not mean to focus on that ring. And to each their own, Devin. It would definitely be a lively debate. I mean, Snape is just the subject of lively debates all the time. I love that one shot, actually. Like, the rivalry is not over. We can go back to that real quick. Yeah, that. Like, that to me was like, this is not over kind of look. Like, he very much had that face, but like, at the same time, just a lot must have been going on in his head at that moment, and I just needed something, one last look from James to Snape to indicate, like, their never-ending rivalry and hatred of each other. Some people said, like, why did he pick up his wand? When did he drop it? It's when Lily hugged him.
Oh, there is too.
It's just, I didn't have a wide shot of it.
But I imagine you did enough to keep them scared of you.
Yeah. Well, they won't be coming back to this pub again anyway.
Morgana, I would say he was not in control of himself, and he was fine with it. When he was absolutely destroying James.
Fear you for your talents.
Do you?
I do.
That's right, Eliza. Like, she was uncommonly kind and caring. And, you know, I think that means that she would hug someone who's done so many terrible things.
For our ranks.
What ranks? Who are you?
And then, of course, I have to have a fun plot twist at the end.
You know who.
Watch his eyes. Watch his eyes. Ah! Here, sorry. I can't help it. Like, I just saw an opportunity here with his amazing contacts, and I wanted to make sure I got his red eyes right. But, like, his pupils move. I did that in post. I didn't do it. Someone else did. But what's fun about that scene is that when we did a bit of a tour and we showed this film to audiences, which was like the best experience ever. Seeing all the comments are wonderful, and I love you guys, but being in a theater and watching everyone watch it, listen to everyone watch it, was just the best experience. This moment got different reactions every time. Some people went, ooh. Other people laughed. We had two screenings where people laughed when he said, you know who. And another, when he said, you know who, everyone went, oh, and started like seriously clapping, like applauding. And I was like, audiences are different. Audiences are different every time. Even in the premiere, during the big crazy fight that ended with fiend fire, the first screening, everyone was just going nuts. The second screening, during that fight, right? The second screening, everyone was kind of silent during that fight. Like, they were fixated. And then as soon as Peter ran off, like, it's like all the tension released from the audience. They laughed really hard and then started clapping. It was audience reactions are probably one of the big reasons why filmmaking is such a great experience. Yeah. So happy with this film. It's just my favorite. I just love this film. I just love how it turned out, and I love how much hard work everyone put into it. And this final shot of Snape is just, it's just fantastic. Everything about it is great. Like, you don't know what's going on in his head, but at the very least, he's curious. And then I left it black for a little longer just to let it sink in which I like to do. So yeah, this was just a super... This was an experience of a lifetime to make this movie, honestly. And I don't know if anything's ever going to match it. Or at least it'll be a different kind of experience. Like, I hope I can make a feature film soon, and that'll be a new experience. But this experience, working with everybody who's super passionate about it, just nothing like it. Nothing like it. And real fun fact, my music composer Alex Arnson managed to get a full orchestra for this song. So everything here is full instruments that was played in an orchestra. How he did it, I don't know. Let me know if that helped. Hopefully that helped. Cool. Yeah, believe me, everything about the setup with Twitch is still new to me. But anyways, yeah, this was just a wonderful experience to have, and it was just really fun. I remember going into the story saying, like, I don't want to tell something that is too fan servicey on either side. I wanted to tell a story that people would talk about, and Snape is just a guy that everyone loves to talk about. So I wanted to make sure that there were both sides of the coin talked about for every character, basically. Marauders, Snape, Lily, everybody. Although Lily is, like, in this film, we know where she's at. Six years ago, friends. 6 years. Oh my. 6 years. Man, so I'll stick around for like 10, 15 more minutes if you guys have any other questions or want to talk about anything else. What Wario drama are you talking about? Let me find what I'll like look through the Wario drama. There's your next project. Okay. I mean, I love Wario, and Morgana cosplayed as Wario a while back, and it's the best cosplay of Wario I've ever seen. So cool. Now I know what project I'm doing next. Awesome. Yes, the story is about to come to an end. And, oh, Waluigi, you're right. So never mind. I don't want to do a Wario story. I want to do Waluigi. I would want to, what's that movie with like that's like the American choppers, the bikers. I forget the name of the movie, but like instead of those bikers, it would be Wario, Waluigi, and someone else on choppers, like trekking across the United States. We're not doing that, huh? Okay, fine. How are me and the cast? We are all wonderful. We all still hang out. I mentioned in a previous commentary that Garrett, Zach, Kevin, Annalisa, and I did an almost 2-year-long Dungeons & Dragons campaign in the land of Hyrule. It was super fun. In touch with Morgana all the time. Trying to see how I can help her in any way possible. Shoot some scenes with her. We need to do that. Yeah, good friends with everybody. Let's see. How much does it take to shoot a film like this? It took... I'm sorry. Let me answer this question, then I'll get to the music question. Let's see. 2014 is when I started casting it and writing it at the same time. So 2015 is when we shot it, and it released in March of 2016. So about 2 years. 2 years. What's my opinion on Lily? I think Lily's a wonderful person, the purest of them all. She's not flawless, and I kind of went into that a little bit in Wizarding War. But she's just, to me, I wanted to stick to the uncompromisingly kind and compassionate person. And we're gonna see the full circle of that in the final episodes of Wizarding War. What kind of wand do I have? Oh my god. I could show it to you, but I don't remember what it is. I have a certificate made by the wand maker. Excuse me, and it tells me exactly what it is, but I don't remember the make and the core at the moment. But a friend of mine made the wand. I can't remember his name right now. It's been like 5 years since we've been in touch. And he played Godric Gryffindor in the paintings. So, and he made Peter Pettigrew's wand in Severus Snape and the Marauders. Everyone else had their own wands, like that were Warner Brothers official, but except for Peter Pettigrew. So he made Peter's wand. But yeah, that's my wand. Let's see. Will there be... Whoop, whoop, whoop. Thank you, Zhao. It's good to see you from Sweden. Hope I got your name right. Ben, I'll find out if he still makes wands, and I'll let you know. Oh, Kevin, breaking your wands. Did we break one on Snape and the Marauders? I think we snapped one. Emeka, I will get back to you on that, as well as the music question. I think we snapped. Yeah, Kevin broke several wands. So as far as the music question, I'm forgetting the name of the music website where you can listen to the music, but yes, it is available. So again, look up Alexander Arntzen, and you can see the spelling of his name in the credits. His Instagram, he'll tell you. I just can't remember this. Nope, can't think of it. All right. Oh really? Morgana you had to run to the WB store. Wow. Yeah, everybody had to do a lot of running around and played a lot of like roles beyond their normal roles for sure. Ugh. So the Powerless is my horror film, and that's the direction I'm moving into, is like into horror. And I want to tell a very deeply personal story that belongs in horror. So check out Powerless on Broadstrokes channel. I'm almost finished with what's called an audio pitch, which is basically the script, but in audio form. So I got some actors to come together, including Garrett, to read the script, and it will have some music and sound effects, and it'll be used as a piece of pitch material for it. And then we're going to start really pitching Powerless out everywhere. So that's where that is at. SoundCloud, cool. SoundCloud is where you can find the score for Wizarding War. And yeah, will there be any future Harry Potter projects after Wizarding War? Unfortunately, no. We're done producing anything Harry Potter related. We might be doing some fun stuff that's kind of Harry Potter related, but it's not producing anything. We're not telling any more stories in the traditional sense. But one of the reasons we're doing this is we're going to... one of the reasons we're moving to Twitch is in order to do this. And I don't want to tell you exactly what it is, but I'll let you know what's going on very soon. If you've not seen James of Expectago, you should possibly recruit him. Fantastic eye for visual scenes. Okay, cool. What other franchises am I interested in? Star Trek, Star Wars, Battlestar Galactica, Doctor Who, Mostly sci-fi. Lord of the Rings, though. Lord of the Rings, fantasy. Actually, very huge into Lord of the Rings, but I would never do a fan film about it. It's just too... The material's too sacred to me for me to do that. I saw one, The Hunt for Gollum, and it was like the best fan film that I've seen out of it for Lord of the Rings, but also the costumes are insane for that. Harry Potter is like kind of loosey-goosey with like wizarding costumes, so you can get away with it much more than Lord of the Rings. I noticed that during the fight, Zach kept his elbows in really tight and used small jab-like movements, really added to the rat-like nervous look that Zach's idea or someone else... Was that Zach's idea or someone else's? It's a good question. I'm pretty sure it was Zach's idea. Like, I wanted everyone to develop their own style. I just kind of wanted to help them, like, make sure that cinematically it was readable. But I'm pretty sure that was Zach. Let's see. Thank you, Zhao. We love you too. You got the fans make this happen. The fans are the ones that really made this happen. Literally, they paid for it. They paid for Snape and the Marauders, and they helped pay for Wizarding War. And I'm really glad it inspired you, Mariana. The best compliments I ever get as a director are saying this inspires me to make stuff, and that's just the best. And I don't know if I can say this without sounding egotistical, but I did notice a lot of Harry Potter fan films came out after Snape and the Marauders. Yeah, it probably wasn't Snape and the Marauders. Let's see. I'm so glad to hear that, Emeka. I'm so glad to hear that. Been waiting for the fan film The Marauders, telling how the Marauders got together. Well, that's interesting, because if anyone does that, they're going to have to cast like 11-year-olds, because when they got together, it was their first year, and then they didn't get with Remus until like their third year, something like that. They knew of him, but yeah, they didn't really get together with him until their third year, I think. So yeah, children actors. Yeah. Remus is the Ringo of the Marauders. Okay, here's something for everybody. Which of the Beatles are the Marauders? Which do you think? I want to know, and then we'll talk. Now, Kevin Allen, of course, has opinions about this, but I'm interested to hear what you guys have to say. Are you in the chat going to stay in contact after the last film is out? Oh yeah, but like we're staying on Twitch, so I'm gonna be on Twitch a lot. I'm gonna be playing games and then setting up for what we want to do, which I can't talk about yet, on Twitch, and it belongs on Twitch. You'll see what I mean when we start. But we're gonna be around, and at least one other person is gonna be around, and hopefully the rest of the cast will come and go as they please when they feel like and have some fun with us. And that's the whole point of us moving to Twitch, is we want to do something that's going to be super fun and like based around fun stuff we've done before. And like I said, the stuff I'm producing is no longer what I think is appropriate for Broad Strokes. But Broad Strokes will continue on with everybody and our friends and family. And I consider all those guys family. So, but yeah. According to Remus and Sirius in the Order of the Phoenix, James in his 7th year would only hex Snape only when Snape hexed him first. Snape was a special case. He never lost an opportunity. It's interesting. I remember that line, Snape was a special case. He never lost an opportunity. And if I recall, I could be wrong, but like they both found opportunities to hex each other. But one of the lines that James said, he's like, he would always hex me and I'm not going to take that line down. Or maybe Sirius Black said that. It's been a while since I've read the books. So, as I understand it, they met Remus on the train, but they didn't learn about Remus being a werewolf until 2nd year, 3rd years when they began trying to become an anime guy. That's right. You're right. How long was the screenplay for Snape and the Marauders? 21 pages? Yeah, I think it's 21 pages, 22 at the It comes out to 25 minutes. Including credits. Before credits, it is... Let me turn off the volume on this. 22 22 and 46. Yeah, so it comes out about right. So short and sweet. It's actually kind of long for a short. Most shorts in festivals, they like you to stay under 20 minutes. It's kind of a rule, but this was never meant for festivals. So James couldn't take that line down. What do people think about which of the James is Paul, Sirius is John, Remus is George, and Peter is Ringo. Interesting. Okay. Because everyone kind of like looks down on Ringo, and Ringo is going to outlast them all. He'll outlive Paul McCartney. He looks younger than his own son. Have you seen a picture of Ringo with his son? He looks so young compared to his son. His son looks like he's in his 60s, and Ringo looks like he's in his 40s. It's ridiculous. You think Sirius is John? Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, most carefree. So Sue Peterson says John is James. Paul is Sirius. Huh. That's interesting. George is Remus and Ringo is Peter. Ah, poor Peter and poor Ringo. Carolyn, you say you're old, but the Beatles are timeless. Let's be real. Like, they should be... Every generation should get their future generations to come to know and love the Beatles. You say Snape was 5 against 1. So who's the 5th person? Interesting. Do you mean me? Because I gave him all the advantages. I made him look good. So Ringo was the oldest and most experienced musician of the quartet. It's true. It's true. He just never had the same bravado and attitude that John Lennon brought to the band. Or Paul McCartney. Lily is looking after Fred in the afterlife as much as the same way Molly has looked after Harry. Oh, God, this is heartbreaking. James, Sirius, and Remus found themselves a 4th marauder in Fred in the afterlife. Oh, my God. Just kill me now. That's so terribly sad. So, Annalisa, you actually made Kevin watch Hard Day's Night before you filmed, and he had some mini moments that were inspired by John just being a lovable ass. Kevin, what are those moments? I'm interested. I played Snape? I'm confused now. I don't know. Paul charismatic. Yeah, well, I don't know. It's just interesting. I always thought that Paul was charismatic, but he felt much more of a leader to me. While John was more lackadaisic, and that's serious to me. Oh yeah, I wrote him, yeah. But I definitely, like... I went with what I thought was canon. Like, Snape's extremely powerful, and they never really properly took on Snape. And then when they put him against a wall, and there's no more school to get them in trouble, Snape's not going to hold back. James is John. Glasses, yeah, okay. Sirius is Paul. I could kind of see that. Peter is George. Remus is Ringo. Interesting. Okay. Interesting. Okay. Most of the goofy faced after your series. No, your series. All right, can we talk about that line real quick? Because I couldn't help myself. I almost want to apologize because the fans said that all the time. And I was like, I just want to throw in little moments here and there that are very nod to the fans without being nods. Like, not Disney Star Wars nods, but like subtle fun stuff that if you're not a fan, you're not going to catch it. And it's not going to feel like a... But if you are a fan, then hopefully you'll be like, cute, fun. So, yeah. No one can resist a good Spartacus joke. Not sure what you mean. I'm glad you liked it. I'm glad you liked it, Jenna. Does all the cast have Twitch? Also, if the cast in here in chat, thank you guys for making this happen. Yes. Kevin has one. Kevin has a Twitch. I have a Twitch, but I almost never use it. But yeah, just me and Kevin, so far as I know. Oh, I'm sorry, Morgana has a Twitch. Morgana has a Twitch, so and she uses it. At least recently, she used it. So you should check her out. I'm glad you enjoyed that line. It was a good line. I had fun with it. And the other line that I thought was really pushing it is when he says, "I can see who the big cheese is here," and I was like, "Ugh, can I get away with this?" I like cheesy lines. I really do. I'm a dad joke fan. But, you know, they definitely bring eye rolls whenever I do them. So it's always a risk. Yeah, I'm sorry, Morgana. I'm sorry you weren't here when I plugged your Twitch. But you were recently on Twitch. I don't know if you're doing it more, but you were definitely recently on Twitch. It's true. And I do use it one more time. I think it's even worse than this one. We'll see what you guys think. All right, Morgana's got a big stream tomorrow. Awesome. 7 p.m. Pacific. That's the time. That's the time to do this. According to Rollin, James Sirius, Potter, and Fred Weasley are both troublemakers and pranksters, therefore continuing the legacy of the Marauders and the Weasley twins. It's true. I liked exploring the legacy of the Weasleys from a different perspective, and that is the Pruitts. I had a ball writing the Pruitts, and they're not done yet. I'm really looking forward to their finish in Wizarding War, but man, had a ton of fun writing the Pruitts. And if I remember correctly, Morgana and Garrett, because Garrett was a co-writer, helped with the inspiration. And we kind of just thought of them as like rugby players who were like super tough. Like, the Weasleys were really, you know, quick-witted and funny and pulled pranks. And I was like, well, if they pull pranks, then the type of pranks that the Pruitts would pull would be like ghastly and terrifying. And I just saw them as being, yeah, they're totally pub hopping rugby hooligans. And I just saw them being like just really rough around the edges, like a much more extreme version of the Weasleys. Especially considering their fate. Spoilers, but it's in the books. So, and I remember like also there was like, we kind of came up with it because we imagined this non-canon character, Snape's brother. Morgana, do you remember Snape's brother's name that we came up with? I'm trying to remember it, but Snape's brother was a rugby player and was a muggle. And like made a living. Steve Snape, yes! we used to have so much fun talking about the existence of this character just being a total hooligan and like a guy who just goes to bars and watches rugby and picks fights and barely even pays attention to the Wizarding World, much less Snape. Yes, Steve Snape. Oh my god. Yes. Like, this Cockney jock bro drunk. Yes, totally. I feel like he would get in like the ultimate of cruelest of ironies, that he would find a kinship in James Potter and they would become friends. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine the utter humiliation? Like, Snape, if he hadn't already disowned Steve Snape because he's a muggle, he would just disown him entirely by being James's friend. It's interesting to note that James Potter, who is named after James in Sirius, regularly teases his brother Albus Potter, who's partially named after Snape. Yeah, and I also found it interesting that James Potter, Harry's first son, which we have to remember that. There was so much controversy around Albus Severus Potter, and I'm like, it's his middle name. Does anybody know my middle name? Anyways, but I thought that it was interesting that he focused on Albus Potter, that the focus of the play was on Albus Potter and not James, and James was just kind of like just another jock who kind of messes with Albus. Get him out of the story. I just thought that was interesting. Steve Snape, the fifth Marauder. That's the worst. And he might bury him in the garden. Oh, that's terrible. Yeah, I imagine him as a big dude. I never imagined him as being a bully to Snape. I imagined him as being like, come here, Snape. And like holding his entire body with one arm, cracking his back. Like, in case Snape ever gets too tense, he's guaranteed to grab him and hug him until his spine just like cracks in every place. And then like, like, you know, like shuffles his head so hard that it makes him dizzy. Yeah, that kind of guy. So, yeah, like a super annoying older brother. Yeah, but I never like imagined him as a bully. In fact, like even like brainstorming this guy right now, I can imagine that he was much, much older than Snape, than Severus. Maybe a brother from another mother. I don't know. Shut up, Ben. You're gonna make me feel terrible about myself. He like by the time Severus is 10, like Steve is 20, that kind of thing. So yeah. Oh, okay. Severus's mom was 30 when she had him. Maybe she had Steve Snape when she was 20. I don't know. Who knows? Let's see. I would love to know Frank Longbottom's backstory. 10 points to Gryffindor to who can tell me who plays Frank and Alice Longbottom in The Great Wizarding War. And Kevin and Morgana can't answer. Right? I'm so glad this has turned into a Steve Snape like brainstorm. It's fantastic. So you see his Fabian and Gideon as two bare-knuckle street fighter types who pull pranks just to show their playful side. Yes, absolutely. But their pranks are insane. Like they shove people up the butt of what's the name of that giant like rhino type thing? Like that's how terrible they'd be. That's how insane they'd be. Question, isn't James out of character? Like, wasn't he supposed to change, or am I overthinking this? So I talked about this earlier, Cameron, of like, I couldn't believe, despite Sirius Black's testimony, that James changed and pulled a 180 in less than 2 years' time. I couldn't believe that. And once they got out of school, I really believed that James felt the stakes of the safety of his friends and his girlfriend. And when Snape showed up in the bar, the worst side of James popped back out. So that's how I saw it. Steve Snape, the Muggle's chiropractor who lives for rugby. Yes, he would be a chiropractor. He'd be a shiatsu chiropractor. Those guys who just go, you know. Alice's parents owned the Fortescue ice cream parlor. Interesting. Okay. Kevin Allen's not here. The person speaking for him, I forget. Oh, there she is. Synalictical. Yeah. I'm looking at two chats, so you have to forgive me. I'm like trying to keep up. I would really have liked to see Gideon and Fabian in the books or movies. I always imagine them as characters I would like. Totally. What's good is that Harry, Ron, and Hermione had made peace with Draco, something all the Marauders will never be able to do with Snape. I think even in the afterlife, they want to be able to do it. You demand to be part of Steve Snape Rises. Yes. Cool. Steve Snape Rises. I like it. I'll even like have him like, because he's a plumber and he's like working in really rough places, like he has to wear a mask, so he's kind of like Bane, so he's Rises. I don't know. I'm just making stuff up at this point. A rumpant, yeah. So I just imagine that like the Fabian and Gideon would shove somebody up the butt of an rumpant and think it's funny. And his name was Steve Snape. Yes, totally. Yeah, Hermione did become... did she... Wait, am I remembering that right? She became Minister for Magic? Okay. I remember your name, Annalisa. Damn. Give me a break. Let's see. You had canon that Harry and Draco joke around with one another. Totally. Totally. I can't imagine John Cena as Steve, because John Cena is like very, very well built, while a rugby player is just massive, but like their muscles aren't necessarily like they're just a brick. They're a brick wall of a person. So yeah. No, I know who you are, Annalisa. You're the best. That's what you are. You're not random. You're the best. James went home after 6 years and learned that both his parents were dying from dragonpox. That will change your outlook quickly for an only child. Well, it's interesting because I didn't know at the time when he learned about that. So I set it up for him to know in the Wizarding War series. And yes, that's another aspect of him being a catalyst for major change. Who came up with the steamed hams animated video for YouTube? Gee, I wonder. Will the real Slim Shady or will the real steamed hams please stand up? You'll get your answer in a minute. There you go, Morgana. Morgana came up with it. And the best... Okay, so Morgana has to tell you this. It's going to be kind of tough, but like she can summarize where those drawings come from. Snape hated Neville so much because if Voldemort had chosen to go with Neville rather than Harry, Lily would still be alive. It's true. It's true. And I love the fact that the prophecy came down to two people and it was still Voldemort's choice that created the prophecy in the first place. The question is, would Voldemort have been discombobulated if he tried to kill Neville? I think the answer is yes. I think Neville would have become Harry Potter, basically. Yeah, I mean, it is something to be proud of, Morgana. It was a fantastic idea. Like, the way that I planned out Wizarding War, it was only going to last 2 years, so we only needed one April Fool's, so we technically should have done 3. But we had one, and it was amazing. I feel like the general reaction was we were all giggling to ourselves, but like the people who saw it were like, because they were all... A lot of the fans were like on the younger side, and I remember when we did the recording, some of the younger people who were doing the recording when we did steamed hams were like, what? And I'm like, you don't know steamed hams? Ugh, we are so old. Right, exactly. You were entertained enough for everyone who didn't get it. Yeah. I mean, like, you were amused. It was just for your amusement, but honestly, I thought it was perfect. I was like, if we're going to have this, we're going to have an April Fool's joke, this is it. Like, I can't imagine it being anything else. The self-fulfilling prophecy of Gryffindor by being a pain. Oh, I see. I mean, he did hate Gryffindors. He hated all Gryffindors. It's not all, but, like, he just wanted to, like, he was just taking out his anger on James on everybody. Snape was terrible. I mean, complicated, but just did nasty things. Voldemort marked both boys for death, but he chose to start with the half-blood first. Had Voldemort successfully killed Harry that night, then he would have gone after Neville next. Yeah. Yeah. Hearing Bo, so, like, I don't think even Bo got it. He was kind of like, I'll do it, whatever. When did we get a Powerless update? Good question. It's being kept close to the chest at this point because now we're pitching. So I was going to make it a more public thing, but I thought better of it, which is unfortunate for everybody else. But I felt like I needed to keep things close to the chest, especially as we got closer to pitching to people, which is coming very, very soon. Why do so many fictional characters, especially Harry Potter, get so much trauma? Looking at all the stories, family canon, because people who don't have trauma are boring. I mean, that's not necessarily true, but like drama and creating characters with conflicting like issues comes from a place of it comes from a place of like them having to deal with things that shape their character to create conflict. So like the perfect example is so many Disney characters missing a parent or parents, and you'll see that allows them to have a more nuanced sense of character about them, more complications. Where did the story ID even come from, though? I wonder what you're talking about. Let me know. Let me know, Jenna. Oh, you're asking about steamed hams. Wizarding was very old school radio drama, just like War of the Worlds. Absolutely. Yes. I took huge inspiration from War of the Worlds. And it was a very difficult thing to write action for audio only. And I learned a lot from War of the Worlds. Absolutely. Annalise said, that is surprising that you didn't get the steamed ham reference. I thought, oh no, wait, we've had this conversation. You haven't watched much Simpsons. Cameron's, for some reason, I feel like Snape also should have hated Slytherins because you cannot tell me he was respected by people by Lucius and his crew. Interesting. Well, it's interesting you say that, Cameron. And that's all I'm going to say. Just watched it and it was amazing. Thank you, CJ. Appreciate that. What is steamed hams? Look up Simpsons steamed hams. That's all you need to know. Trauma makes people interesting. It's true. Not saying that you should like go find trauma in your life, but trauma will find you. It's just how life is. Audio dramas are rarely done the way we did this, not since the day of World of Worlds. Agreed. But they're showing up more. They are showing up more. I did look into stuff in there. There was a really cool Wolverine audio drama that I found that was pretty good. But nobody really wants to take the risk of like action scenes. It has to be dialogue. And I was like, well, let's try and portray action a little bit. I'm out of focus. Oh, is that line from A Little Childhood Trauma Builds Character from Ed, Edd, and Eddy? I wonder which one said that. Probably Ed. Not Double D. Not Eddie. Probably Ed. A Little Childhood Trauma Builds Character. I don't know if I did that right. I'm sorry. Does anyone remember Ed, Edd, and Eddy? Also, no one's answered me as to who played Frank and Alice Longbottom. Morgana, your contributions to Broad Strokes will be well remembered. Not for Severus, but for steamed hams and Steve Snape. Oh, it was Double D or Eddie? Okay, cool. Neville was a living reminder and representation to Snape of his guilt from revealing the prophecy to Voldemort and what could have happened differently, and that may Snape detest and bully Neville. Possibly. But what about Hermione? Like, he was terrible in a lot of different ways to Hermione. Like when her teeth got really ruined and he was like, I don't see a difference. I was like, God, expelled or fired, or I'm sure there's teacher unions in Hogwarts that just make it really difficult to get fired. But God, I remember reading that and I said that out loud when I read the book. Like, God, Snape. Is Snape and Voldy on my shelf? Yes, he is. He's right there. Snape and what's the name of who turned out to be Grindelwald? I loved him. I loved his look. I loved the way he was, and the reveal that he was actually Credence. No, not Credence. That's the Dumbledore. I love that character. But yeah, Voldemort and Snape and I'm forgetting his name right now. But from the first Fantastic Beasts movie, played by Colin Farrell. I don't think Snape liked or respected any of his peers except Lily. He was an outcast even in his house. I could agree with that. Except for Dumbledore. I think he respected Dumbledore. You taught me how to make water. Oh, yeah. That was a fun story. We're like, I don't remember how it started, but we're talking about tutorials and how to make water from ice. Good times. Yeah, Graves, yeah. I was teased as a child, but that didn't bother me, but I learned early on not to be bothered with people's nonsense. It's fair. Yeah, thanks, Ryan. It's fun talking about the behind the scenes of everything. I'm gonna head out soon because I really need food. But I'm looking forward to the multi-hour Twitches that people do. I don't know how I'm gonna pull that off. We'll see. They offered you free. Oh yeah, this was in Vegas. That's right. Man, Vegas was an experience when we all went. I don't know if this particular Vegas experience is when we all went to screen Snape and the Marauders, but that was an experience. There was a special room in this convention that had the most interesting fan drawings. Very interesting. It was a fun time. Yeah, let's just say one of them involved Remus, Sirius, and Buckbeak. I'll let your imagination roll with that. So it's possible Snape hates Hermione for these reasons. She's Gryffindor. Snape hates Gryffindors. I honestly don't think he hates Gryffindors on principle. I just think that James was a Gryffindor, so therefore Gryffindor sucks. She's good friends with Harry and Neville. And finally, Hermione was similar in a lot of ways to Lily. Interesting. Yes, the slash room. Yes. Yes. Oh my. Yeah, Ben, you would enjoy that room. Yeah, you would. The same trip Morgana, Zach, and I were playing Pokemon Go on most of the trip. Yep. And yeah. Fun be had in Vegas, and what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. So, but it was a good time. So I have one question for everybody before I sign off, and we'll talk about it for like 10 more minutes. What is a fan film, or what is a story in Harry Potter, or what are characters in Harry Potter that you would love to see created, either officially or fan-made? I mean, because I've seen a lot of Marauders fan films. I'm not saying I had anything to do with that, but I've seen a lot of them. And I'm interested to know, what do you guys want to see besides Steve Snape? And still no one's answered me about who played Alice and Frank Longbottom. I actually really want to know. I want to make sure you guys know who played Frank and Alice Longbottom. I just imagine that in my head and I hate it. Yep. The films or the books. There's plenty of characters that the films did not cover. Plenty of characters in the books that the films did not cover. I always thought that Ginny would remind Snape of Lily, but they never mentioned that it did. I didn't get the impression that Ginny and Lily were too similar, but like there's literally like 10 lines of dialogue that exist for Lily. Just that they would be both fiercely loyal to the people they care about. Otherwise, I don't know. Bye, Annalisa. It was great seeing you. You would love to see more of Mad-Eye Moody. That's interesting. Now, I will tell you that if there were more Wizarding War, and there will not be more Wizarding War from me, but if there were, I would focus less on Snape and the Marauders, and I'd probably make Moody the main character. Because I would just focus on the whole cadre, and Moody's kind of the field commander of the Order of the Phoenix. So I'd make him in charge, and I'd kind of follow his descent into somewhat madness. Paranoia, but like, I would kind of follow Moody. And Jared's amazing. Jared just did an amazing job playing Alistair Moody. You would like to kind of see true crime CSI type of show with the Aurors tracking down Dark Wizards directly after the Second War. That would be cool. That would be cool. Life of the Weasleys. How about a reality TV show of the Weasleys? Do it. Make it happen. Like, what's the name of that TV show with the crazy hillbillies? It's not coming to me, but like, it's just like, it turns out they're wizards, and like they just do all their magic, but no one takes it seriously. They can't be really real wizards, but like it's totally slice of life. So make a reality show about the Weasleys. What? You're telling me kids aren't like annoying and sometimes cruel? Emeka, like that. I love kids. I love being around kids, but kids can be nasty. You would love to see a fan film of Tom Riddle's early years before he openly became Voldemort. I would love to as well. There was one that it was called Origins of the Heir, and you think it's about Voldemort. Well, it kind of is. It's mostly about Voldemort, but it gets weird. It definitely takes its own risks. We'll say that. When you ask who played the Longbottoms, who do you mean in the films? No, I don't mean in the films. I mean in my audio drama, Great Wizarding War, who are the voice actors who played Alice and Frank Longbottom. Who else? What else would you like to see? Do I live in the USA or UK? I know we have half of our fans are in Europe, and I feel really bad for them. There's nothing we can do. I'm sorry. But I'm in the USA. We all are. We're all in the USA. We have a few British actors in the Wizarding War, though, but they also live in the USA. All right, guys, if you can't figure it out. Oh, yeah, the fan film The Black Sisters. It was good. I liked it. Yeah, covered some fun family dynamics. Well, now everyone knows where we are, Morgana. We're going to have some stalkers. We all know how much you love stalkers. You remember reading Bridge to Terabithia, and the one bully makes fun of Jesse for Leslie dying. Yeah, Bridge to Terabithia holds nothing back. That is a rough read. It's a beautiful story, and man, 10 years ago or so, they made a film about it, and it was really, really good. I enjoyed it. Yeah, it's a tearjerker. It is a total tearjerker. Good to see you, Nikki. Taiwan? That's crazy. It must be much earlier there, though. How did the Death Eaters react to an infant Harry being responsible for Voldemort's defeat and disappearance? Celebration. That was like the opening chapter. Is like Vernon seeing these people in weird clothing, like openly coming out into the world and saying, "The Dark Lord is dead." And he's like, "What?" All right, take care, Gigi. Have a good night. All right, last chance, guys. I'll give you one more minute to tell me who plays Alice and Frank Longbottom. If you can't tell me, I will tell you myself. Jasper would love to see a fan film of the founding of Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry in the fall of Salazar Slytherin. Yeah, Ben, I do know about Harry Potter Theory. Absolutely. Yep. They're great. They have this great thing about like Dumbledore creating a Horcrux of his own or something like that. But it was it was such clickbait, and then I listened to it and I was like, oh wow, that's actually very convincing. But as far as the founding goes, I remember that was going to be my second choice if I didn't do Marauders. I thought that was an interesting character dynamic between these four friends, one of which leaves. I remember that I like to play opposites. I like to mess around with expectations. So when for example, when I cast Helga Hufflepuff, she's seen as kind of a person who's kind of heavyset and loves to eat. Whatever. I cast the smallest young lady I could find. But I imagine I was like, wouldn't it be fun if Hogwarts were created by accident? Like, what if they were drunk at a pub or something, and they just got progressively more drunk, daring each other to do different things, and then eventually one of them was like, I dare you all to build a school and name it after a pig with zits on its face. And then Godric, who's the drunkest doll, was like, you know what? Let's do it. And then we fade to black, and then we fade up, and they're in this field, and they're waking up, and they all have nasty hangovers, and they look up in front of them is Hogwarts. And they're like, now what? So yeah, that's what I would do. It would be one short. Maybe I'll do that one day. Just have some fun with 4 actors, like, just drunk at a pub. And like, I won't even say they're the founders. I'll say they're wizards. Wizards and witches, but then eventually find out slowly but surely that they're Godric and they're Helga and they're Rowena. That's how you imagine the Hogwarts motto being made. Hogwarts, Hogwarts, teach me something, please. Yeah, it sounds like a drinking song, honestly. Are you sure you don't want to film that? Because I want to see that drunk night. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. If I can do it like in one night for fun, then maybe. I went through the cast list of Wizarding War and couldn't find the Longbottoms. Well, listen to the credits at the end of episode 7, or is it 6? It was you. What? Who is you? What are you talking about, Kisara? Don't tickle sleeping dragon is Latin phrase. It was me as a Longbottom? You telling me I was Frank Longbottom? That is correct. I was Frank Longbottom, and my wife, Liana Manassian, who is the producer of Severus Snape and the Marauders, is Alice Longbottom. We had so much fun with that. We just had a blast recording ourselves as the power couple, Frank and Alice Longbottom. And I remember Liana and I having a conversation about that, where we're just like, so what are Frank and Alice like? Who are they? And we just kind of saw them as rough and tumble and kind of like blue collar, like workers. Like if they were muggles, they'd be in a coal mine. So yeah, that's kind of where we kind of took them. But they're like police officers too. Like I could see them as police officers, and that's what Aurors are, right? They're police officers, and they were both Aurors, very well respected, tough guy and gal. And I wanted to make sure that I got a chance to do some voice acting, and Liana was really interested too. But I wanted to make sure that whatever characters we chose wouldn't have like major arcs. Like they would just be there as part of the story, but they wouldn't. While they weren't cameos, they weren't like ingrained into character arcs either. So, and if I were going to continue telling the story, it would go deeper into Frank and Alice Longbottom. But you know, I had to make sure I focused on the Marauders, Snape, Luther, and the few other characters that had any major arcs. So yeah. All right, guys. I'm gonna head out. It was so great talking with everybody. I'm really glad that I kept the chat going longer, so we could continue having Harry Potter theories and debates as we go on in the commentaries for the Wizarding War episodes, which start next week. I'd love to keep having talks about the theories behind this and discussions about the directions that Wizarding War took between myself and Garrett. And then as we move on to like playing games and stuff, we're going to try and stick to Wizarding kind of themes. And I would love to just keep talking Harry Potter themes and stuff like that, especially when that PC game comes out this summer, hopefully. Man, I'm going to have a blast. So you guys have a great night. I'm really excited to continue talking about the Wizarding War. And then March 1st is when we finally premiere The Great Wizarding War, episodes 11 and 12. Very excited to premiere that, and excited to talk about the future of Broad Strokes on Twitch after we premiere it. So